Trauma creates limiting self-belief systems, which inform and dictate almost everything you do. Release them and you will finally be free. Let me explain. Trauma is stored in the body, which biases thoughts, beliefs, and ultimately behaviors. Our mind and body are intricately connected, and our nervous systems react to the world much faster and more powerfully than our conscious mind does. Think about a situation where you felt immediately anxious when a certain person walked in the room. Your body likely reacted first, with a knot in your stomach or tightness in your chest, and your mind followed suit with anxious thoughts. That might have even led to a behavior like escaping the situation. You might have been confused as to why you reacted so viscerally when you thought you had moved on from that situation or person, but when put to the test, your body simply didn't believe that. So now I'll explain what trauma being stored in the body actually means and the mechanisms in which it affects our beliefs and our actions. Number 1, your nervous system, through something called neuroception, its unconscious safety detector, sees danger in things like someone's body language, tone of voice, choice of words, or even environmental cues. So danger is not just physical to the body, it can be emotional or relational as well. These are things such as not feeling seen, validated, or accepted by your parents or peers, things like being shamed or criticized by someone you trusted, or having your boundaries repeatedly crossed. So the nervous system, upon perceiving the threat, likely changes things like your breathing, heart rate, or muscle tension. Your brain then interprets these changes through something called interoception and switches you into one of the survival states. These survival modes include fight or flight, freeze, or even fawn, which is appeasing others to regain safety. So shifting our body into a different state comes with a whole host of physical reactions or survival energy. This can be the chemical energy in stress hormones like adrenaline or cortisol. It can be the electrical energy in activated nerves, or even the mechanical energy in tense muscles and fascia. That's exactly what polyvagal theory speaks to. Each survival state has corresponding thoughts, emotions, and physiological responses. An easy way to understand this is that when you're stressed or anxious, you're usually overthinking or have more irrational thoughts. But when you've had a chance to calm down, your thoughts usually become more level-headed and rational. The ventral vagal safety state opens curiosity, empathy, presence, and flexible thinking. Sympathetic fight or flight narrows attention and fuels threat-based thinking, fear, and urgency. Dorsal shutdown dulls motivation and promotes numb or hopeless thinking. And blended fawn states mask anxiety under people-pleasing and making yourself non-threatening to feel safe. First, I need to clarify that our nervous system has these survival modes in place as an evolutionary and defense mechanism. They're very necessary in the cases of real dangers in order for us to be able to regain safety. It's also completely normal to be shifted into these states on a daily basis in response to normal life stressors. The problem lies in when our bodies remain in the survival states for too long or chronically because it never had the chance to release the trauma or survival energy. That's when it can get stored. These things can show up later as gut issues, muscle tension, elevated stress hormones, hypervigilance, anxiety or depression. They all feel immediate even when the threat is long gone. But the consequences of stored survival energy aren't just physical. Over time, especially with repeated or unresolved trauma, our nervous systems take those immediate thoughts and reactions and hardwire them into limiting self-belief systems. And because our nervous systems treat them as reality, it quietly dictates and controls what we do in the present. How traumatic and painful experiences impact us in the present have everything to do with how they originally imprinted on our nervous systems. We are usually affected or triggered by people or circumstances that once made us feel very unsafe. If the trauma is unprocessed or we haven't released the stored survival energy we felt in the past, our nervous system usually recreates the original survival state as if it was happening all over again in the present. This means that you might experience the same physical reactions like the chest tightness, anxiety, nausea, hypervigilance, and it leads you to think that something is wrong in the present and try to take some action towards it, when all it really means is that you haven't let that original trauma go in your body. For example, this is why a lot of people might experience nightmares, flashbacks, PTSD, or panic attacks long after an original trauma occurred. Talk therapy is not always beneficial in those cases because it can be re-traumatizing by having someone relive their experiences without taking into account how their body would react and safely guiding them through it. Somatic therapy, on the other hand, would take a completely different approach. Think about it like this. When you feel physically anxious about something, you either act on it or avoid it completely. What if instead you learn to sit with the sensations of anxiety? Teach your nervous system over time that it doesn't mean that you're in danger when you feel those sensations, and also that the sensations themselves aren't dangerous. Your brain and nervous system then starts to rewire your reactions to people, circumstances, and life stressors. You choose to respond differently to instinctive reactions, and your brain and body will catch on in time. Understanding this is incredibly powerful. This means that maybe if you've had certain lifelong or negative perceptions or belief systems about yourself, they are not innately who you are, but a distorted representation rooted in some type of trauma. This means that you don't have to subscribe to the same beliefs about yourself that keep you down if you know how to pinpoint where they started and let them go. That so many subconscious limiting beliefs we have are temporary and false instead of true and permanent. The great news is our bodies already know how to release and are oftentimes trying to do it themselves. In animals, for example, you see a discharge when they've escaped a dangerous situation like being hunted. They will shake, tremble, and sigh deeply, which resets the system. You can read Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers that explains this phenomenon. Unlike animals, however, we either didn't have the knowledge or were conditioned through social norms, shame, or lack of safety to not release the stored survival energy. This can keep us chronically dysregulated, stressed, ill, and in pain. Understanding nervous system work or somatic work is key. You will be less reactive and more regulated, emotionally stable, and resilient. You will naturally develop better habits, take control of your daily life, and put energy towards building strong internal safety and self-worth. The opinions and actions of others will have less power to dysregulate you or fill you with self-doubt. You'll be able to surround yourself with people who truly align with you and not just give you temporary validation or comfort. Thank you so much for listening. This video was my way of introducing how powerful somatic work can be in your life. In my next videos, I will go in depth with many concepts, several examples, and actionable steps into how you can change your life with somatic work.